Thank you for calling the location information line for You Know the Score. Here are your meeting points. London Bridge, Southwark Bridge.
You must have a ticket and you must be a member. Your membership cards entitle you to free drinks.
Please keep tuned. Genesis Reunion 89 is here.
The 1980s, UK, the Thatcher reign. A time where a generation has been brought up under Thatcher's rule, encouraging to value prosperity. The city of London was thriving while the rest of the UK was struggling. Elsewhere, techno and house music from Chicago and Detroit was booming. This style of music had made such an impact, it made it across the Atlantic and was introduced to Europe, settling in holiday clubbing destinations such as Ibiza. British DJs loved the sound and vibes it impacted on clubbers, in which they brought it back to the UK, experimenting and playing the sounds in clubs, innovating the future for that UK sound. And because of this, the root and pioneers of UK rave culture was born, the original rave generation. This is Acid House.
So many questions have been made about this new dance craze called acid. What people really want to know is how the story all goes about acid.
So what is Acid House? Acid House can be distinguished by its deep bass lines and distinctive sounding synths, usually from the synth Roland TB-303. Acid House also uses euphoric vocals, chords, melodies and strings, incorporating a fusion of sounds, together making it to what it is.
Got it and just had one bass sound like that. That's how it began. And then as the other guys got it, they tried to get more creative with it, and they started turning all the knobs, and people not knowing that that's how acid music started.
Feel it all around as you dance.
The Acid House segment was recognized as a social movement and subcultural revolution. Thatcher's reign in the 1980s had a huge impact. The nation was suffering hard times, we were in a deep recession, so to combat the inflation would have led to an increase of unemployment, especially for the working class industrial communities which were targeted first. So with the struggle, there's no surprise the reaction would be to rebel and unify. That sense of escape from the reality of the outside world was important, and this was through acid raves.
This is acid.
The Acid House raves were hosted all over the country. Abandoned warehouses, air hangars, forests and fields. Shoom, Hacienda Nightclub and Clink Street Studios hosted big events in their venues. These venues had roadblocks full of people, too packed to get in.
It was just a nut house. It was absolutely crazy. There was like too many people than could get in. There'd be loads of people outside trying to get in, but the place was just a roadblock. Just around the corner there, where the actual entrance is to the prison, there was people climbing drain pipes to try and get into windows to get in. It was like absolute mayhem, and the real birth of acid house culture.
These raves would go on throughout the evening, through the night, till the next morning. So what was their secret? How did the party goers keep dancing throughout the night non-stop? Ecstasy. This Class A was introduced to the club scene, given the label the Chemical Generation. With its high demand, heavy-duty dealers got involved. There was lots of money to be made. This drug was able to increase euphoria and give a sense of love. This illegal drug caused so much attention to the culture itself and therefore was portrayed negatively by the media. The media and government highlighted the negatives consistently. Acid by D-Mob was banned by the UK's primary music show Top of the Pops due to the word acid. However, BBC Radio 1, the UK's #1 radio station, was still enriched by the phenomenon and carried on promoting acid house.
Premier Pop Show has decided not to play tracks that have references to the word acid. We, on the other hand, decided to carry on playing acid house music because we've been aware of this for some 14 months. It's almost a bit of a storm in a teacup, really, after quite such a time. And we understand what the true meaning behind acid house music and the term acid is in this particular genre of music. Is it, once more, a cynical exploitation of youth culture by the media, merely to generate headlines to sell newspapers?
Police closed down illegal parties and enforced drug searches at raves, causing disruption and tension with the ravers.
It's about drugs. The only reason that you're sitting here now, the honest truth is the only reason you're sitting here now is because of the sun.
Fact of the matter is, there are very lights, sound crews, lasers, spotlights, heaters, people to take cloaks, people's coats in a cloakroom. There is free refreshment, there's security, there's fire exits.
We don't want to discuss the whole matter with you.
Planning to allow magistrates to impose fines of up to £20,000, send the organisers to prison for up to 6 months and confiscate their profits.
Besides police, groups of armed thieves would have headed to these parties and unfortunately target promoters and dealers. As these parties are illegal, they couldn't turn to police or authorities for assistance.
You didn't see a bank robbery all the time you had acid parties. Never. You didn't have to. If they could go to half a dozen parties on a Friday, Saturday night and walk off with a couple of £100,000, as they did, easy money, isn't it?
They had to hire muscle for protection. At the time, the nation was swarming with football firms standing their grounds on the terraces during the 80s. These gents would take the opportunity to get involved in the scene as security, bouncers and doormen at licensed and illegal parties. The music was recognised nationwide and wise men understood the potential on monetizing acid house events. An example of this was Tony Wilson. He knew its potential. He owned a venue in Manchester, becoming at the time the most go-to club called Hacienda, and therefore was an iconic sight of the scene.
Everything came out of a Hacienda. Dance music came out of a Hacienda, bands came out of a Hacienda, and anybody who wanted to have any sort of sense or feeling of what was going on in that town was in the Hacienda.
The acid house raves influenced what is marked as the summer of love. This scene had generated a moment where your race, sexuality, class, gender, gang differences were put to the side. Barriers were broken down. These raves ensured the love and prosperity with everyone. People spoke to anyone, wives and husbands were met for the first time, friends were made and memories were treasured for a lifetime. Throughout the summer, June to September, every weekend, all the acid raves were rammed. Fashion styles and statements were its most creative. People in dungarees, baggy clothes, hoodies and colourful branded designs were truly representing the time. No one cared what you looked like, what you wore, there was no phones, just music, you can have truly been you. So how's it influenced our music, inspired our generation? The late 80s showed changes in the world, the Berlin Wall was knocked down, Tiananmen Square protests in China. Things were changing, everything was changing. This scene was the foundation, the pioneer of this electronic music journey. So many were inspired, influencing DJ legends such as Carl Cox, Pete Tong, Fatboy Slim, and many, many more. It is a time where people wish they could have gone back. Till this day, various groups still keep the music alive by hosting events and venues within the UK. Groups such as the Acid House Experience, promoting these events for the old school and new ravers, very much keeping it alive. The generation of the time experienced an event that would not have been compared to anything else. Those who've been through it would know. A time that many others would have wished they could have experienced. Next time on That UK Sound, The acid scene evolved and the genre started changing. The music dropped the boundaries of race and culture. The British generation of Caribbean youth started bringing in their own influences onto the scene, from the roots of ska, dub and reggae. This is the sound of jungle.
Outrageous and unacceptable examples of the problems caused by New Age travelers and ravers.